we're told, the last page of the chapter Horcruxes. I'm going to read the whole paragraph. Actually, the last three. When Harry says, I don't want to do it, Dumbledore says, of course you would. You see, the prophecy does not mean you have to do anything, but the prophecy caused Lord Voldemort to mark you as his equal. In other words, you are free to choose your way, quite free to turn your back on the prophecy. But Voldemort continues to set store by the prophecy. He will continue to hunt you, which makes it certain, really, that one of us is going to end up killing the other, said Harry. Yes. But he understood at last what Dumbledore had been trying to tell him. It was, he thought, the difference between being dragged into the arena to face a battle to the death and walking into the arena with your head held high. Some people perhaps would say that there was little to choose between the two ways, but Dumbledore knew, and so do I, thought Harry, with a rush of fierce pride, and so did my parents, that there was all the difference in the world. Harry realizes, I must die. I mean, he does realize that. He must walk into the battle, into the arena, but notice the image he comes up with. It's like being dragged into an arena where you must fight a battle to the death, kicking and screaming against it. Or to walk in, head held high, just thrown out. The being dragged in, is resignation. It's refusal to accept reality. The other is acceptance. It's saying, I must die, but I will die with honor. I will die with integrity. I will die with my head held high. Much the way Harry decides he's going to die at the end of Book 4. He's not going to die crouching behind a tombstone. He's going to die standing up and facing Voldemort. Much as Harry said in this book, he's going to go out fighting. Okay? Now, the image that Rowling gives us, it's not an image she creates on her own of someone being dragged, kicking and screaming into an arena to face a battle to the death, or of someone walking in head held high. Those are images from the early history of the Christian church. Images of the persecutions of Christians confronting gladiators and beasts. And what we get in the narratives of the early church, what we get from lives of saints and such, the imagery that we see it's almost unanimous of Christians walking into the Colosseum with their head held high and saying, I accept what comes. They don't go in begging mercy. They don't go in begging for their lives. They go in saying, I will die for what I believe in. I will die for this cause. I will die, in that context, for my Lord. Okay? Huge, huge difference. Okay? So we come to the next chapter, Sectum Sempra. And I'm going to go through these remaining chapters quickly. What do we see here? The most important thing. Harry runs into Malfoy and he sees Malfoy doing what? He's crying. He is crying in the bathroom because he can't do what he's been commanded to do. And Harry uses Sectum Sempra on Malfoy, and notice it's Snape who comes and says, that was my spell, etc. Alright? We're going to skip a bunch. We're going to go on to the next chapter. We see at the end of the chapter, Sectum Sempra, Ron wins the Silver Cup, the Quidditch Champion Cup. And Harry and Ginny kiss each other, finally. Then we get to chapter The Seer Overheard. Okay. And Harry sees Trelawney, and Trelawney talks about, hold on a second, on page about 542, Trelawney talks about the lightning-struck tower, calamity, disaster, coming near all the time. Harry's like, okay. And let's see. Harry's talking with Dumbledore. Excuse me, he's talking with Trelawney. And she tells him about her interview with Dumbledore being interrupted by Snape. So Harry goes off with Dumbledore. And let's see here. Harry talks about to Dumbledore. He yells at him. He learns that Snape was the one who betrayed his parents to Voldemort. That Snape was the one who overheard the prophecy. And Dumbledore says at the bottom of 547, yes, Harry, that's true. I'm sorry that Professor Trelawney told you that, etc. And Harry wants to know why you trust Snape. Page 548 or so. Dumbledore says, you have no idea the remorse Professor Snape felt when he realized how Lord Voldemort had interpreted the prophecy. Harry, he's a good occlumens. How do you know he's not tricking you? Dumbledore says, I trust Severus Snape completely. Okay? Harry and Dumbledore go off. And Dumbledore tells Harry on this last expedition, he says, I must tell you, Harry, whatever command I give you, you must follow. This is about page 349. Do I have your word? Of course. If I tell you to hide, will you do so? Yes. If I tell you to flee, you'll obey? Yes. If I tell you to leave me, save yourself, you? Yes. Okay. Notice, I think what that's telling us is Dumbledore already knows. He knows what's planned. He knows that he must die. And he's making Harry swear that he will not intervene. Okay? Okay. So they go off to the cave. We're going to skip a bunch. And they make their way into the cave. Dumbledore talks about what is in there's a Horcrux at the bottom of the basin. And about page 565 or so, they're talking about Inferi and such. And Dumbledore says, while the bodies are drifting, we don't need to worry about them, Harry, any more than there is anything to be feared from the darkness. Lord Voldemort, who of course secretly fears both, that is, he fears dead bodies and he fears the darkness. But once again, he reveals his own lack of wisdom. It is the unknown we fear when we look upon death, and darkness, nothing more. So what does it mean? It's the unknown we fear when we look upon death and darkness. And Dumbledore says, there's nothing to be afraid of from darkness. Dumbledore is saying, there's nothing to be afraid of from the unknown. That's Socrates. It's straight out of Plato. When Socrates says, I'm not afraid to drink the hemlock. Death is not something to be feared. It is only the unknown. That's why Dumbledore can say, into the first book, to the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure. Why? Because the well-organized mind knows not to fear the unknown. You go outside your room right this moment. You don't know what's going to happen. You get in your car to drive somewhere. You don't know that you're going to make it safely there. You could be killed in a car wreck, God forbid. But it could happen. Okay? So, Dumbledore drinks the potion. And Harry keeps making him drink and drink and drink, and Dumbledore cries out, "Kill me, no, kill me." We don't know what Dumbledore's seeing. We don't hear about it until book 7. Harry escapes with Dumbledore. They get back to the tower, the astronomy tower. I've got to go through this quickly now. And notice what Dumbledore does. He puts Harry under a freezing spell. Okay? And Dumbledore talks to Draco Malfoy. Long talk. Dumbledore tells him, "Draco, you're not a killer." He says, "I know what you've been planning to do." Okay? Draco tells Dumbledore Snape is a double agent. Dumbledore says, "I trust Snape." Why? Because he wants Harry to know he trusts Snape. And so what happens? Snape and the others come in, and we hear Dumbledore say to Snape, "Severus, Severus, please." And Snape kills him with Avada Kedavra. Okay? We get the flight of the prince when Snape flees. Harry catches up with him. He tries to kill him, etc. And Snape stops Harry and says, the bottom of page 603, or somewhere on 603, when Harry tries to use Sectum Sempra, "You dare use my own spells against me, Potter? I, the Half-Blood Prince?" And then we get, and I'm just going to gloss over the remaining bits of the book. The Phoenix Lament, the White Tomb, all that kind of stuff. Notice what immediately happens when Harry tells everybody what Snape did. Lupin, McGonagall, Hagrid, the Weasleys, they all assume Snape must have been bad all along. That he was a double agent. Yet what doesn't Snape do to Harry? He doesn't kill him. He doesn't kill him. Okay? He doesn't kill anybody else. He kills Dumbledore. Dumbledore pleads with him. "Severus, please, please." We don't know why. Though we're going to see in the next book, when Harry gets Snape's memory, we're going to see why. What began to happen to Dumbledore when he broke open Salazar Slytherin's ring? He began dying from that moment on. We're going to learn that whatever curse was on there, it began to spread through Dumbledore's body. That's one of the reasons Dumbledore was weakened on the astronomy tower. The other reason, he drank all the potion. He was dying from that as well. So when Snape Avada Kedavra's Dumbledore, he's really putting him out of his misery. And I'm not saying that he's condoning euthanasia or anything. He's just bringing the death that was otherwise coming, and was coming probably painfully, as a result of the curse on his hand and the drinking of the potion. Okay? So we get the burial scene. We have Fawkes' lament. And then we have Harry essentially saying, "I got to go off and do this," and he's got to break things off with Ginny. Why? He doesn't want anything bad to happen to Ginny. But Ron and Hermione know Harry's going to go on after the Horcruxes. He's got to find out what the others are, and he's got to destroy them. And we'll stop there, and we should be able to finish Deathly Hallows in class.